is what I mean by paradise. Very nice, sweet with a little spice. With the price, been around the globe once or twice. I hope to spend price.
Well, Katie and Noah, we're happy that you guys are here. Thanks for being here with us today on the podcast. Andres.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Can you welcome me?
Russ. I'm so glad you're here, man.
My pleasure.
Thank you. You work for Chick-fil-A?
I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, UPS. What else do you do?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Back to Noah and Katie.
Yeah, sorry.
So I spoiled it by saying your names, Noah and Katie Butterfield, married couple. Are you guys the first married couple on our podcast? Noah, longtime listener, first time caller.
I think together, yes. I know married couples have come at different times. But,
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's true.
At the same time.
I had that one locked in, so.
All right, so we talked about it a little bit before we officially started, but our last guest actually forgot a gift. So we had her sing to us and give us the gift of music.
It was great.
So would you like to sing to us for your gift?
He's 100% about to say that we didn't bring a gift. Just
I was going to say, it's your turn to sing.
no, we got a gift.
Can you sing? Are you a singer?
A little bit, but not a lot.
Did you ever
She has a great voice.
lead worship growing up or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You sing. We'll give it to you.
So, our gift to the Sanctuary podcast is a $5 penny board.
Ooh.
Was it bought at Five Below?
Yes, it was.
Maybe.
While
know?
we were shopping for how long is it? It's a 20-hour travel day for Leo coming up next week.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what a 20-hour travel day with a 1-year-old is like, just imagine you're drowning and and you're also on a plane. So we're getting him toys and stuff like that, but we saw this and we said, you know what? This is perfect for Sanctuary podcast.
What's the meaning behind this?
First we thought it was just really cool, and then we were like, okay, now we'll come up with a meaning behind it.
It's like missions. It's a balancing act, but once you're on, it's a beautiful ride. There's no going back.
Sometimes you make mistakes, but you keep growing and you keep learning.
Yeah.
All the fun stuff.
So
Wow, you guys really thought this through.
It's probably the most thought out gift we've gotten.
Probably ever. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we bought it and then we're like, this should probably be a significant to this. So.
It was much less disturbing than our ceramic fist.
That's so funny.
That was Mariah. It was so cold. You remember that?
I remember you saying the fist was cold, yes.
Yeah. Do you remember Tech Deck skateboards?
That was the second thing I was looking at today, is there were Spider-Man themed tech decks at Five Below.
Whoa.
And I was like, that is kind of, that may be something. And the third option, I was trying for like 3 weeks to find
Whoa.
as the most obnoxious, hugest thing I could find, that it would just have to be stuck in here for forever. I was looking at like posters. Today I think I
Or
saw like
an inflatable.
yeah, I
something.
saw like a Bluey poster today. I was like, that'd be kind of funny. They have to stick like a huge Bluey poster in the back wall.
Big fan. Big fan of
Say what
Bluey.
you want to do.
Oh, when you guys walked in, I wanted us to start off the podcast with the Bluey theme song. Which would have been perfect because Leo was in here.
Yeah, he would have loved
it's
it.
true.
But today he actually chose Peppa Pig over Bluey.
Really?
So that was a big. That hurt. That was scary today.
What I was going to say about the Tech Deck is like, this is almost like a small skateboard where you try to do tricks with it with your hands. But I recently saw a Tech Deck competition. Have you seen a Tech Deck competition?
I've never seen
Have
that.
you seen a Tech Deck
No,
competition?
that's cool.
Noah, come on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here we go. So the people who participate, because there's little finger skateboards, like a skate park with the size of this table, and they're standing over it doing tricks. The people who participate look exactly like you'd expect them to look.
Oh.
Like what?
Button down,
Flannel.
button down, flame covered Hawaiian shirt.
Oh really?
yeah. Like they're gonna compete in darts after. That's what they look like.
The ones I've watched, it's always like, it's the skateboard rejects. It's like, I couldn't really pick up skateboard, but they're like, I pick up Tech Deck.
I have so much more to say, but we need to get to business because
Amen.
we have some serious business
Super
ahead of us.
serious.
This is one of the segments that we do on this podcast called the Aussie Slang Test.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's
So
for both of you.
yeah.
Oh, she's not gonna do well.
Well, that's what you
I've
think.
learned.
So give us why you think you're going to do well, first of all.
I don't think I'm gonna do well, but at least I have the history.
Give us the history for those of us who don't know history about you.
So in 2007, me and my family moved to Australia for 8 years. We moved back to Connecticut in 2015. So I was 7 to the ages kind of matched up. I was about 8 to 16 when we moved when I was there. So a lot of my vocabulary started kind of in Australia, and so I've had to readjust. So used to have an accent, don't anymore. Sorry.
That's a bummer.
I know. So especially for her, and so but
It's okay.
I think I'll do okay. Kevin's definitely, my dad has definitely kept up more of the slang than I have. But I'm not sure how you're gonna do. You might do better than I think you will.
I've tried to learn Aussie slang.
I've not been a
since-
good teacher. That's the only problem.
So it's all your fault.
Does he say anything that's Aussie slang that you're just like, when you were first dating or anything, you were confused by
Oh man.
or surprised by?
I don't think any like major ones come to mind. I mean, yeah, I don't think any major ones come to mind.
Maybe
There
keep
probably are,
it
but-
up, keep it in there. Don't tell them yet because it might be
Yeah.
on here.
Could be in here.
I also just
That's
want to
true.
say, if you were like between 8 and 14, right? How old are you?
8 to 16 or
8 to 16, you could have picked up everything because when I was in kindergarten, my friend VJ Russo taught me all the swears. Okay? So you had plenty of time to pick up all the Aussie slang, just saying.
It's true.
Yeah. You ready?
I'm pumped.
All right, you do the first one. This is, all right, we'll have them, you say what it is, and then they both take a guess, and then you tell them.
And then I reveal.
Yeah.
All right. The first one is Chuckasicki.
I have no idea.
It's just taking a sick day. It's faking so you can take the day off.
Katie, what are you going to say it is?
Feels like has something to do with throwing, and so I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was a little nervous, Noah, because you almost didn't have it, but then you made up for it. So it's calling out of work when you're sick, but you're not actually
Yeah.
sick.
That's crazy. I can't believe you actually got it. All
You
right,
almost
ready?
didn't.
Number 2.
Number 2. Oh, I'm saying all of them?
I was going to go.
Oh. okay.
Letter
I
B,
wasn't
actually.
sure.
We went alphabetical with this one.
We did.
Ankle biter.
Just a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you got to guess, too. He doesn't know.
When I think ankle biter, I think a nail biter, and I know that's not right.
All right, that's another one for Noah. It's a child.
Yeah.
He's actually really impressive so
not-
far.
Wow.
Is that Australian
start.
slang? I feel like I just hear that all the
I
time.
don't know.
Yeah.
It said it's Australian.
I didn't know.
We'll
it,
see.
so-
We'll see with this one. This one's a little Arvo.
Afternoon.
Yeah, what he said.
What he said?
Yeah.
My phone still autocorrects that. Like I'll type in afternoon and it'll go Arvo, and I'm like, no, dude.
It doesn't
we're
make any
good.
sense. How
And
is,
it's like it's been a while. Like we're good.
all right, here we go. Noah, keep your opinion to yourself. Katie, Clucky. Clucky. Clucky.
I mean, it.
No matter what you say, I will be proud of you.
It sounds like it has something to do with chicken. That's like, maybe it's like you're calling somebody a chicken.
Yeah, Occam's razor. All right.
I actually don't know. I think Katie's right. I think it's something to do with the chicken. I don't know. I don't know if I've heard that one yet.
It's feeling maternal.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Lucky.
yeah.
Oh.
We say like when
Okay.
women are pregnant here, they like nesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that would make sense.
It's like a maternal thing.
All right. I don't know how to say this one correctly, but a cobber.
A cobber.
Cobber.
Oh.
Can you use it in a sentence?
No, it would give away the meaning.
All right, Katie, you're up first because Noah keeps ruining this game.
A cobber. I feel like I'm in a spelling bee. Let's see. Oh my word, I have no idea. We'll say like a barbecue. That's a Barbie, but I don't know. I'll say something with a barbecue because it sounds like corn on the cob.
Sure, corn on the cob.
Cobber. I almost want to go to cop. I think it's a cop of some kind.
Can I have a second guess?
Yeah.
Like a tattletale.
Ooh,
Oh, interesting. It's a good friend.
Dax.
Dax. I've heard. You guess what it is.
Oh my word. I haven't gotten a single one right, I don't
This is
think.
Daks.
Dax.
Dax.
I feel like I've heard it before. but I don't know what it means. We'll say that's a tattletale.
Okay, all right.
It's pants, right?
It is pants. Yes. That's
Remember when you
accurate.
said that you didn't pick up any
I know,
slang?
you're doing great.
Yeah. Who was
It's
your
coming back
VJ
to me.
Russo? That's what I want to know.
There's a lot of different kids, man.
You're up. I stood Dax.
Oh, you're right. Dunny.
We know this because of Bluey. It's bathroom, toilet.
Yeah, toilet.
Nice. Thanks, Bluey. Fair dinkum. It's 2 words. Fair, like the like FAIR, and then space DINKUM. Fair dinkum.
Do you know this one?
Yeah.
Of course he does. Why wouldn't he?
My word. You should just say it because I don't know.
You brown out? You don't
Yeah,
know?
I'm gonna bow out this one.
It's like fair enough. Like, yeah, good job.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
All right, Katie. This one's for you. Nice and easy. Sunnies.
Sunglasses.
Oh,
That was one that he's said since we started dating.
Yeah.
shark biscuit. This is the last one.
You gotta go first.
You look like you don't know it.
Ooh. You like the
You
challenge?
go first. You go first.
Don't try to buy extra time over here.
Shark biscuit.
It sounds like something someone would say instead of dang it.
Like
No,
yeah.
I think it's. Is it like a dog or something?
Is that your guess?
Yeah.
Dog, and yours is
Dang it.
all right. It's kids at the beach.
Kids at the beach.
Kids at the beach.
I knew it
Shark
had something
biscuit.
with like something floating in the water. It's like a shark. Like it's easy pickings.
Yeah,
Like,
like when you accidentally fart in a pool and there's a shark biscuit, you know, a rogue wave, if you will. So, how did you two meet? You want to give us a story?
yeah.
Just dive in there.
I was on staff with Youth with a Mission down in Orlando. I've been there on staff since 2019. Been down there since 2017 with YWAM though. She came in 2019 for her discipleship training school, which is like the first kind of school you do with YWAM. So she was a student, I was a staff member. But we didn't have
Scandalous.
we didn't have any contact or we had like one half conversation
The entire time.
in like the first 6 months she was there. And then she came back for secondary school, which is much more of like, hey, staff and secondary student, it's okay if you're dating. It's a little less weird.
Does it say that in like the policy handbook?
Oh yeah. It's like
actually
number
does.
4 on the list or something. And so I was also doing the school at the time, and so we were doing homework, literally like every night from different tables in like our coffee shop, and just every day I was like, she's getting a little bit cuter and cuter. But she had these noise canceling headphones on every day, and she would never look up because she was so stressed out about her homework. And so all of her friends would ask, because I was doing a Bible school at the time, all of her friends would come up and ask me Bible questions, stuff I was learning. And she would never engage at all. And I thought it's because she like hated me. And so it turns out it was because you were just.
I take a long time to do homework, and I needed to space it out. And so I was like, okay, I need my noise canceling
Well,
headphones
it wasn't just about
on.
the homework.
I'm also very introverted.
Yes, but you were scared to talk to
I
me.
was very scared to talk to him.
Yeah.
All right, retell us the whole story from the beginning, but from the correct perspective.
That's pretty much that's correct.
No, I've been trained well. No, she
Usually he'll talk about it, and then I'll butt in if something's wrong.
yeah. And so I started liking each other. We started having more and more conversations.
I would take my noise canceling headphones off to take breaks. And so he would sit with my friends while they were doing their homework, because he was like, when she takes breaks, she goes hang out with her friends, which means that she'll be at the same table as me. We can talk a little bit more.
We
long con.
were literally hanging out one time, and I was like, "Oh, can I get like y'all's phone numbers so we can start hanging out more?"
Smart.
And well, here's the jerky part of it is as soon as I left, so I got her number and I deleted all of her friends' numbers because I was like, "All right, I got what I came here for." And so we started talking, started praying, like asking the Lord for if this is something that He wanted, if this was like kind of a go ahead for us to start. Should I start pursuing her? And we got to kind of the point where like we felt yes. Brought in our kind of our mentors, our people that are over discipleship for us, and they were like, no, this is really good. We think this is really, really beneficial for both of you. And so we went for it. And so we started dating in 2020. I proposed April 2021, right? May 2021. Then I left for Tanzania for a couple months.
Whoa.
Came back, started wedding planning, and then we got married January 1st, 2022. So New Year's Day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So every year we count down our anniversary. Everyone does, but they just don't know.
It's impossible to forget it.
That's cool. My wife's birthday is 9/11. It feels kind of the same. It really is, yeah.
You can never forget it.
Exactly.
So.
They put it in the newspaper too. Never forget.
Never forget.
Yeah. I apologize, Uncle Bob. So, can you give us...
I'm laughing at Andre's laughing so hard.
Noah and Katie. How about Katie, you start. Can you give us like a 2-minute summary of what you do at YWAM?
Ooh, yeah.
Like not the two of you together. Maybe do separate and then you'll tell us what you do.
Yeah, so recently... So we have a son, he's 1 year old, and so my job has looked a lot different for the past year since having him. But originally when I came onto staff with YWAM Orlando, I did a lot of stuff with the creative team, and so we did a lot of like things for our Instagram and promotionals and just a lot of creative stuff, because if you have any kind of like organization or anything, you need some people who can design stuff. And so I did a lot of that, but I also helped out with different schools. So we both did this, but helped out with the School of Ministry Development, which is a secondary school, just working with students one-on-one and kind of helping them process what the Lord was putting on their heart, specifically for that school, kind of what ministry will look like for them, whether that's full-time missions or ministry like in the workforce, stuff like that. And then recently, we're actually leaving next week for me to do a maternal health ministry school through YWAM. And so a lot of what my job will end up looking like through YWAM will be helping either women who are pregnant or giving birth, postpartum, stuff like that, in childbirth education as a doula, or helping train other people to do that and be able to do that overseas as well. And so it's a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. My role has predominantly been in the training world, was what we call it, the training programs that we run. So mostly it looks like teaching in our schools and our programs. I mostly teach in our Bible schools. We have a bunch of different Bible schools that have different targets and different focuses. And so I teach on mostly Old Testament stuff, just bringing some clarity for students that have a lot of questions, and just or maybe have never, like we get a lot of students who've never read the Bible. It's like new to Christianity, but they feel a call to missions, and so they want to know more about the Bible. And so I teach a lot in that kind of area, and then I also staff and disciple in a lot of different schools, most of the Bible schools, but also a school called the School of Ministry Development that is about teaching our young students like what is the next step, because some people come to YWAM and they're like, this is great, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do missions long term, and so that's a school that kind of helps determine, is this a long term in the missions field overseas, is it missions in America, or is this going back to your church and serving there in some way? So yeah.
So Katie, why did you end up in YWAM near Noah in the first place? Because like you said before we started that you did World Race. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's related to YWAM at all. Mm-mm. Okay, so why did you end up where you were at YWAM?
Yeah, so I did World Race for 6 months. I went to college for 2 years before that, and I just was not enjoying it. And while I was at college, I realized that I really wanted to do missions. And so I had a friend who had done World Race before, and so I signed up. And I was like, perfect, 6 months overseas, that would be amazing. Once I finished, there wasn't really a lot of long-term options, and so I was looking into other organizations too. And so with YWAM, I was able to take the discipleship training school and then work in missions long-term. When I was in college, I actually wrote a paper about, they asked, what are you going to do with this degree? Because I did cross-cultural ministry for a semester. And I knew I was dropping out after that semester, and so I was really honest. And I was like, so I'm actually not going to use this degree because I'm dropping out, but my dream would be to be a missionary, but specifically be able to train missionaries before they go out, and then maybe even go overseas with them for a few months, which is exactly what YWAM does. And so when I heard about YWAM, I was like, that's literally exactly what my heart is. And so I did the discipleship training school, and I fell in love with it and never left.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Noah, what about you? How'd you end up at YWAM?
Yeah.
And then how did you even make that transition from just being I'm guessing you went to YWAM and then you're like, oh, now I want to teach here rather than go be a missionary somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So most of you that are listening to this know my dad, Kevin. Love him, great guy. But a lot of the ministry growing up during our childhood, a lot of moving, a lot of shifting, and just was what I do now. I realize it's a blessing, but at the time it felt like the curse, and it felt like I was the sacrificial lamb for my parents' ministry. That I was the one who had to sacrifice so that everything that they did was blessed. And so we were back in Connecticut, and it was just a really rough season, just dealing with a lot of loneliness. I feel I'm a third culture kid. I feel half Australian, I feel half American, and I'm struggling with both of these. And was blaming God for a lot of stuff, blaming my parents for a lot of stuff that just wasn't fair for, both God and my parents. And I had a friend who had done YWAM Orlando, and he was like, hey, I know you're just not at a great place. You should really consider doing a DTS with YWAM Orlando. And so I did. I went in fall 2017, and the Lord just really captured my heart, just healed a lot of stuff, just kind of fixed my perspective on my childhood, on why we had moved around so much, and just realized it was for my sake. It was so when I joined missions, all of the changes and all of the moving and the going from place to place, since we've been married, we've lived 4 or 5 different places, probably more than that. I'm probably forgetting a few, but just realizing it was actually the Lord preparing me for what we're supposed to be doing. And so that even just kind of confirmed, okay, this wasn't a short-term thing with YWAM. God has been preparing me for this for a long time. And so I did a couple more schools to because you have to do a series of schools to join staff with YWAM Orlando. And so I did those schools, joined up. And when I joined up, I realized because of that time of being angry at God, and there was a huge gap in my biblical understanding, and especially my Bible reading. And so I did a school called the Discipleship Bible School that we run, that I teach in now, I staff in now, and that just that healed a lot of more of that moment that I had of struggling with the Lord that I didn't even realize was there still. But also my leaders were like, hey, you're picking this up really fast. Would you consider staffing this in the future? Would you consider teaching this in the future, not just in Orlando, but just even internationally, teaching in other campuses, YWAM campuses around the world? And so I've said yes to that, and then staffing and potentially leading it in the future. And so, yeah, that's kind of the transition that I had with that. And so
That's awesome.
Yes. Sorry, guys. So, kind of as you guys have done DTSs, right? You guys have taken different teams out. What are some cool outreach stories that you guys have from being on the mission field, right? Because a lot of what you guys are talking about is being kind of on base, working with students on base, but I know that you guys have also gone out.
Yeah, do you want us to go first?
Yeah. I have a good go-to one that comes to my head every time someone asks me that question. I was in South Africa, and we were kind of just going around these different camps, walking around, doing evangelism, talking to people, sharing about Jesus. And this one girl invited me into her house, and so I just went in and sat with her. And she had talked to me a little bit. She offered me chicken intestines to eat.
Did
And
you take them?
I didn't. I should have, but I was really nervous. But I was able to just sit and talk with her for a little bit, and she told me about she had a 1-year-old daughter at that point, and she told me about her abusive boyfriend, and she just kept saying, he's not a good man, he's not a good man. And I asked her, I kind of talked to her, I asked her if she knew who Jesus was, and she said she knows about Jesus, but her sister knows more about Jesus, is what she said. And her sister would tell her that Jesus didn't love her, and because of her bad mistake, like her bad decisions, that Jesus wasn't looking out for her, and all of these things. So all of those things. And so it's kind of crazy because her English was really broken. Like, you couldn't really understand her super well, but she had enough where you could understand her enough. And I asked her, kind of just came to my head. I asked her, how much do you love your daughter? And no joke, she said unconditionally. And I was like, wow, okay. So I told her about how the Lord's love for her is unconditional. Like, imagine how much you love your daughter and think about someone loving you that much. And she just broke down weeping. And so I was able to share who Jesus was with her, and I gave her my Bible, because she didn't have a Bible, she didn't have access to one. And it's an amazing story, but at the same time, I never got to see what happened to her, which is really sad. But it's also a part of missions. There's a lot of times where you're able to share who Jesus is with somebody, connect them with like the local church, and connect them with a small group, and then you don't know what ends up happening. But yeah, that was a really cool moment, just to see the Lord impact her in that way.
And yeah, for me, it's very similar. We were in a place in Tanzania, in a village called Matala. And Matala is really central to kind of the desert of Tanzania. It's a place with like the biggest water source. It's a village of maybe 100 people, but it's incredibly huge and important to that area. And so we were there doing missions. I think we were hosting a soccer tournament, and all the villages would bring a soccer team, and it was like March Madness, but in the Tanzanian desert. And we went. The YWAM people we were working with have a consistent kind of effort there that they're working with that we got to join alongside of. But there was also a group of Muslim missionaries that were also doing the same.
Whoa.
And so they've been doing it for a while. And so the village is predominantly Muslim now. 5 years ago, it was they didn't have they had witch doctors, but they didn't have like a organized religion or anything like that. And so one day we were getting prepared for the soccer tournament. We were more just hosting. We were Americans, so not great at playing. And a man comes up to our camp. It's like a little bit outside the village, and he says, "I hear you're the people that like to go to for healing." And we're like, okay, like what do you mean? He's like, well, I've had a pain in my leg for a year, and he's limping. He has like a pain in his leg, and so he's like, can you heal it? And we said, well, we'd love to pray for it. And so immediately, we didn't even ask him what his religion was or anything like that. We started praying for him, and after about like 5 minutes of praying for him, we asked like, hey, how's your leg feeling? And he goes, it's about like, I would say 50% better. And so we kept praying, and there wasn't a lot of progression after that. And so we asked him, one of my friends was like, "Hey, are you a Christian?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "What are you?" He's like, "I'm a Muslim." And he's like, "Well, have you actually ever heard about Jesus?" And he's like, "No, but I was hoping you would tell me at some point." And so my friend shared with him the gospel for the first time, and he had never heard about it. And so he was like, "Would you want to accept Jesus?" He's like, "Yes, that sounds so much better." And he had been a Muslim for only a couple of years at this point, but he was like, "That sounds so much better." And so we prayed for him. He accepted Christ, and then we asked how his leg was after he accepted Christ. He said 100% healed. And also my left eye was blind, and now I can see out of it.
That's crazy.
And he didn't even come. He didn't even like. He's like, I wasn't gonna even ask for prayer for that one yet. And so we're like, wow. So he literally he had limped with a cane into our camp to ask for prayer, and he walked out completely fine. He was like 60 years old, something like that. Walked out completely fine. We saw him later, the same day. He's like joining in the soccer tournament, totally fine.
Wow.
He's totally okay. And then since then, all of the leaders and elders of that tribe have become Christian.
Whoa.
It's now a predominantly a Christian village, and most of the Muslim missionaries and Muslim kind of converts have either left or they've become Christians themselves.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
That's really wild. Can I think just thinking about your guys' story and just like you guys are going out into either some hostile environments or just environments that are maybe a little bit more closed off. Here in America, we don't necessarily have that, right? But it feels like we do. For someone who might be like, man, I want to share my faith more, but I don't know how to do that. Like, do you guys have any like tips or tricks or anything that you guys have kind of learned along the way and how people can do that?
I would the dangers are obviously very different, but I think the tactics are the same. In that, when we do Muslim ministry in predominantly Muslim nations, you can't have someone who's living in a Muslim nation just give their lives to Christ and not mean anything. It has to mean something for them, because if it doesn't, it means their life. If their friends and family find out they've become a Christian, it could mean their life. So we have to take that seriously, and so we don't just go around. And we're not allowed to. It's not safe for us to do that, but it's also not safe for people. If we do a street evangelism and start preaching on the streets for people to respond, that's just not healthy for people there. And it's not out of fear of getting hurt, but it's to say, hey, how can we actually see long-term fruit in those nations? I think the same is true even in America of how we do it in Muslim nations is we build up weeks and months long-term friendship and relationship. And it's from that area of trust and love, of seeing how we live, the way that we do things, of truly building connection with these people, that we're actually able to share the gospel. And I would say that it's the same in I think here is, listen, I don't think it's actually beneficial for you just to start, screaming the gospel in your high school or at your college or wherever you're at your work. Like, that's not actually going to bring life to what you want to do. It's by being loving, and then out of that, creating space to share the gospel is to share. It's like once you've built the relationship, it's just okay. I know so and so isn't just this nuts crazy preacher. Like, I know they live a life that I'm jealous of, that they live a life that's full of love, that's full of faithfulness, and they do care about me. This isn't just, hey, ticking something off so that they can say they evangelized to their friend. It's actually, no, this actually meant something to me, that they actually shared the gospel with me.
And two things kind of came to mind while you were talking too. The first one being just, a lot of times there's fear with sharing the gospel because you don't know everything. Like, what if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to? And it's being okay with, that's a really good question. I have no idea. Like, let me try and figure that out and talk to you, or
let's talk it through together.
Yeah, let's talk it through together. Yeah. Because that's a big humility thing. Like, I know that I don't know everything. Like, if you ask me a question, it's okay that I don't know everything. So I think that's a good thing to know. And I had a second thing that I can't think of anymore. It just is gone.
That's all right.
If it comes back, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep. Cool. So also when kind of Zach, Russ, and I were talking through just wanting to talk to you guys and different things, something that kind of Zach brought up is that oftentimes, right, with YWAM, we think about kind of you guys are sending people out, but you guys also have people who stay on base. What are the people on base doing? What are they, outside of kind of going out and doing these outreaches? What are the people who stay on base? Kind of like you guys who are there, you guys are serving. What does that look like?
Yeah, so for us, it looks a little bit different from campus to campus. For us, we have one of the top 5 largest campuses for YWAM, just by land size. We have almost 200 acres is our campus.
Wow.
And so our staff number is about 150. At minimum, we have 60 to 70 always on campus at all times. Just operationally, we need that many to make sure we have food, maintenance, make sure the grounds are being taken up, make sure the rooms are all taken care of, hospitality, housekeeping, stuff like that. And so for us, it's a little bit different if we need a larger staff just to have an upkeep for that. Other campuses don't need that, but they're able to offer a large amount of schools. They have 20 plus secondary schools that they're running that are specifically there to prepare students to go overseas, to send them off. And so that's another part of a large number of our staff are there running schools, running training programs that are offering kind of what Katie's doing in Kona is offering maternal health ministries. Okay, that opens up a unique door in a nation that other ministries can't. One of the things I do also kind of alongside teaching is I run or I used to, it's on hold right now, is a barista program, a barista training program, because that opens up doors, especially in the Muslim world, that just saying, oh, I'm just a American white tourist going over to trying to get into Saudi Arabia. It's like, well, that's a little different versus saying, oh, I'm actually a barista. I'm coming into this country to train people on how to make coffee. Oh, but I'm also able to kind of share the gospel through that too. It's like, okay, that's a unique training that we're able to provide. And so it's like, okay, I'm not necessarily I'm not overseas, but I'm training up 20, 30 people to go overseas.
The way our campus runs is we have our training schools are 5 months long. So it's 3 months on our campus and then 2 months overseas. And so we're able to run 4 schools a year. And so we also, on our campus, we all kind of rotate every 3 months. And so people will be working in maintenance or kind of on the creative team and what I was doing when I first joined staff, or like staffing a school and working with discipleship with some of our students. And then the next 3 months, a lot of times people will rotate. And so if you were staffing a school then, you'll probably do more maintenance stuff this quarter just to kind of help not have complete burnout. Because if you're just working on discipleship nonstop, it can be really, really exhausting and really hard to take care of yourself at the same time. So that's kind of what the people are doing on campus.
Yeah.
We just had one of Andres' old students, John Curry. He's at the YWAM Boston, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're known for like the arts,
Yeah,
just like
performing
specifically.
arts, yeah.
So does your campus have a specific like bent like that?
Not officially, but you can.
I would say recently it's become the Bible schools. There's just been a large movement since I would say 2018 to grow our Bible schools in biblical theology. One of the leading causes for missionaries leaving the missions field is having incorrect theology, and they, whether they recognize this or not, they will leave the missions field because of that. And so we've just recognized long term, if we want people staying overseas and actually sharing like a proper gospel of actually what does Jesus actually teach and say and believe and stuff like that, we've realized not every missionary that we send over has a proper theology, and so we have to fix that. And so now more and more we're running our Bible schools to make sure if we're sending people out, they know what they're talking about. And so I would say that's a big one. Worship is a big part of our campus. YWAM Orlando Music is on Spotify. So I'm not trying to
Little
campaign for. I'm not trying to do a plug
You
for
can
them,
find the link
but
in the bio.
yeah, that is like a huge part of what our campus is doing right now. Do you have anything else?
No, I think the Bible teaching is a big one. We have a lot of people who come to do our discipleship training school who just don't have any understanding of the Bible. Because one of the biggest things we've realized is there's just a huge like hunger to know the Bible and to know who Jesus is throughout the Bible. But a lot of people just don't know where to start or what to do. And sometimes we'll even have students come who are new Christians, like who just gave their life to Jesus, and they're like, okay, what's next? And so we realized as a campus how important it is for just to be able to know, just to have a good biblical understanding of the Bible.
Yeah.
So you guys have mentioned discipleship training school. I'm just thinking about, like, if there's a person who's listening who's like, YWAM sounds interesting, they keep talking about that. What exactly do you guys do in a discipleship training school that is kind of like someone listening can say, oh man, like I actually might want that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's 3 months of kind of the introductory of, I would say, missions, but also even just lifelong discipleship. And so like Katie said, we have a lot of people who are newer Christians or just people who are kind of felt stuck in youth group, or it's like, I know there's something more, but I don't know where to go for it. So it's 3 months of training on different topics like hearing God's voice, how to do evangelism. We go over the entire Bible throughout the 3 months.
Father, Heart of God.
Father, Heart of God. And so every week is a different course. And so that's the first 3 months. And then you're serving on our campus. You're doing you're getting prepared to go on the missions field. So we have stuff like outreach prep, team building. You're also doing evangelism, and in the city of Orlando every Friday night you go out to the club area, and you're preaching the gospel. You're talking to people at bars, stuff like that.
You don't go in the bars.
Yes,
but
outside the bars.
Yeah.
And so and anything you'd add to kind of the first 3 months?
It's a lot of learning about what missions looks like, and also growing your relationship with the Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then so that's the first 3 months, and then there's 2 months after that, which we call the outreach phase, where you're going to a specific nation and that you've been preparing for during the 3 months to go, whether it's a Muslim closed nation or it's like an open nation like South Africa or Tanzania, where people have maybe never heard about the gospel. That's really where we're trying to send more and more teams, is to areas of the unreached where people have never heard about Jesus before. And because I think it was during Missions Week, I think it was Mary Ho who was talking about like the easy places have been taken. So we're sending teams and places that are harder and harder and harder, but they're more and more rewarding because it's people who have never had the chance to hear about Jesus.
So what's coming up next for you guys?
So, like Katie said, we're going to be in YWAM Kona for the next couple of months. Do you want to talk about that again a little bit?
Yeah.
Maybe a little more in depth.
We're actually leaving next week, which
Yeah.
is crazy. So I've had like maternal health ministry on my heart for a really long time. Probably since just for a long time, but it's really come forward around 2020, I think. And there's a school that YWAM Kona runs called the Maternal Health Ministry School. And through it, you work to become a certified doula and childbirth educator, but you also learn how to use it in a missions context, in a ministry context. How can you use this if you go overseas? Like, what would that look like? So that's a 3-month training. And then after that, we'll have our outreach phase for 3 months. So that'd be 5 weeks in Kona, working with pregnancy centers, working with women around the area, and then 5 weeks in Asia or Africa. But they have to tell us that location in person because for safety reasons, or just because they want to do like a fun little like announcement. But yeah, so I've had a heart for that for a really long time. I got trained to be a doula a few years ago, but there's not a lot of Christian doula organizations. And afterwards, I realized that I want to do this in a missions context. And so this is kind of a huge answer to prayer that I've been praying about for a few years. And it's cool to get to do it, have my family be there too. So we'll be there for 6 months. And then after that, we're coming back to Orlando.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll be able to train other women to be able to do that overseas as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be a stay-at-home dad in Hawaii for a couple months.
Man.
So I have a list of things that me and Leo are going to do, fun things and responsible things. So
Well, so if anybody wants to support you guys, we'll have the link to your support page in the description of wherever you're listening to this. Right, Zach? And support you guys as you go to Kona and then your country to be named in person, and then wherever God takes you after that. So if you want to bless the Butterfield family, feel free to follow that link. Otherwise, thank you guys for being here. We usually close. Andres, how do we usually finish a podcast?
I mean, we've closed in so many different ways.
Are we going to sing today?
We can sing. I don't know. What are we going to sing?
Is there a Goodbye Bluey song?
I don't know. Is there a Goodbye Bluey song? I've not gotten to the end of a Bluey
There's-
episode.
every episode is a different,
There's not a Goodbye Bluey song, but there's a goodbye song that Leo's obsessed with right now.
What is it?
What is it?
It's the Sound of Music song.
The
Oh,
Sound of
yeah.
Music. I don't know that one good enough.
So while we've been home, Kevin and Carrie have been. That's an Australianism. Is when my parents aren't here, I talk to them as if you would talk to them as Kevin and Carrie. So people get weirded out. They're like, "Why don't you just say mom and dad?" It's like, I don't know. It's how I've been taught.
So are you
but-
about to sing to us this song?
No,
I think you guys
no,
should.
no,
Yeah, you
no.
should. Yeah, can you, please?
You should get Kevin and Carrie to come in and
No,
record
no,
it.
no.
That's how you end every podcast.
No, you sing it.
So we're just going to the next generation of Butterfield for it, you know? So
I don't know it well enough. Do you know it?
I'm going to say no.
Come on. All right, so did you ever perform in any musicals or anything like that? All right, here we go. Give us one. Give us a song.
A song from
Any musical you were ever in.
any musical
Yeah.
that I was in. I have to think back. It was almost a decade ago.
Yeah, plenty to pick from.
I did Annie one time.
nice.
Go for it. Sing
for
us
it.
sing us a
Go
song.
for it. Okay. I might not be as shy as I was in high school and college, but I still am a little shy. There's like, the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, just stick on my chin and grin and say, then that's as good as I'm gonna go. That's as much as I'm gonna do.
That was great.
That was
That's
wonderful. That was
Thank
wonderful.
you. I appreciate it.
Support Katie with this link. You earned it. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
I hope to spin thrice. The insight's precise. Everybody gets a slice. But heady is a head that's always looking side to side. Leaves you putting the beat, try to steal a bigger piece of pie, baby. Took a while to realize peace of mind is the realest prize. It's free advice. This is what I mean